Hi, I'm Henry Jones, a senior CS major here at Union College. Thanks for stumbling across my video. In the next 10 minutes, I'll outline what I did for my senior research project, as well as the findings and preliminary results. Today's computerized agents are responsible for everything from banking to airplane navigation, to choosing which songs to suggest to you. They're able to anticipate how people behave with astounding accuracy in many situations. However, with the growing ubiquity of smart or otherwise anticipatory software in our lives, how we interact with it is in need of significantly more research in order to effectively integrate novel technologies into daily life. The utility of these trust relationships cannot be overstated, and if we're able to better understand them, it's likely that will only play a larger role in our lives moving forward. The primary motivational example I give when asked what I've been working on is Tesla's new 2022 Model S redesign. According to the company, the new car will be tasked with predicting the drive mode needed given the scenario, either forwards or backwards. I asked people how often their car would have to get that choice wrong in order for them to instinctively override the car's automation by selecting a drive mode on screen, where you're still able to. In this example, it's immediately apparent what the computer on board is doing for the driver. In most cases, however, the anticipation offered by already existing software exists behind the curtain of front-end UI. At Google's I/O keynote this month, they announced a project using AI to predictively group images together in patterns based on subject matter a human might not consider interconnected. Although I'm a user of Google Photos and the AI tools that already exist, such as face-based search and automatic collections, as a person of color with a well-founded distrust of digital cameras' ability to accurately capture my skin tone, I can immediately imagine little patterns accidentally reinforcing racial bias by grouping different people of color together incorrectly. Yes, that's a bit extreme, but it gets to the root of what this research has aimed to understand. How do people react when these systems fail? And how good do they have to be for people to truly trust them? At the surface level, trust is a concept often reserved for the living, for people or maybe our pets. However, at a smaller scale, functional trust relationships are plentiful, existing between people and the many systems we interact with every day. And it doesn't have to be a smart system for these relationships to develop. Consider a faulty electric kettle that couldn't shut itself off. If you couldn't trust it to safely stop, you'd probably feel the need to wait and literally watch it boil. These many small functional trust relationships allow us to achieve greater utility from the technologies we use every day, by allowing us to delegate parts of otherwise cumbersome tasks to tools that can accomplish them reliably. This leads me to my research question. How much low-quality advice from an agent would a user tolerate before they begin to distrust it? This experiment explored how such trust relationships are built and broken by asking study subjects to choose between two suggestions made by opposing agents in a game setting. It was clear that any game would have to have three distinct qualities to be suitable for furthering research into my question. First, it had to have a wide amount of point possibilities, so that certain moves were unequivocally better than others. This was done so that one agent could always have a better or worse suggestion than their nemesis at any game state. Second, agents should be able to legitimately anticipate the future. That is, they should be able to make suggestions based on knowledge that the user doesn't know. And third, users should have real incentive to succeed, in order to motivate thoughtfulness throughout the experiment. A modified Match-3 style game, written in Java using the Swing GUI, was used for the experiment. Similar to the popular Candy Crush Saga or Bejeweled, the interface presented 5 set scenarios to the user, which each allowed the user to play a 4-move Match-3 game with one major modification. Users were forced to choose between pre-selected swaps presented by opposing computerized agents. The two agents had the ability to notify the user when they successfully scored points in the form of a compliment. Likewise, when they missed out on a better move offered by the opposing agent, they received a complaint from that agent indicating they missed out on something good. The video on screen shows a particular scenario which includes both types of notifications, as well as a cascading move. In order to assure consistency, the game states were all predetermined. This was accomplished by filling a binary tree with game states corresponding to each arrangement of pieces in a particular scenario. These were large by nature, and presented one of the major bottlenecks to the research. Compensation was an important part of experiment design, and was used as a carrot on a stick to motivate participants to care about the game. They automatically earned $6 for participating in the study, with the opportunity to earn an additional $1 for each of the 4 main rounds by scoring above a set amount of points. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, experiments were held via Zoom meetings, taking advantage of the Zoom remote control feature to allow subjects to play. Venmo and PayPal were used to facilitate payments for the same reason. A Google Forms document was created and shared with each participant to collect informed consent, demographic information, and later information about their experience as a subject. A custom-built logging tool recorded the choices each subject made, the current score, as well as the notifications issued by the agents. All study subjects were recruited using the surveys@union.edu mass email to reach all student inboxes. Having planned to roll out posters for recruitment, I was surprised to find I was fully booked with 23 sessions after a few hours. Sadly, I was only able to complete 12 experiment sessions due to no shows or subjects canceling. Those who did show were predominantly female and spread fairly evenly across all 4 class years. Withholding payments had a large effect on the mood of each experiment session. Anecdotally, I found that participants who lost points on the second round spent much more time to complete the subsequent rounds, perhaps due to their fear of losing more money than they already had. Conversely, all 3 participants who received the entire compensation were the least stressed, seemingly not as worried about the consequences of underperforming. This all indicates that withholding payments was at least partially successful in promoting thoughtfulness in the study sessions. The collected choice data also indicates that those who missed out on compensation were slightly more likely to swap agent when prompted. Aside from the first round, a tutorial in which all the agent's suggestions, regardless of color, resulted in 3 points scored. Each scenario was preset to poke at some aspect of the trust relationships I hypothesized could form between the participants and the agents during the study. I'll go through each scenario and run through its design and my findings. Please take anything I've uncovered with a grain of salt. These are partially anecdotal results from 12 experiment sessions. As such, it's definitely not a complete model of how trust relationships work in the real world. Round 2 gave the participants their first cascading moves, with the blue agent offering a 6-point move at the beginning of the round, followed by subsequent 3-point moves for the remainder. Conversely, the red agent started out by offering a 3-point single move and offered only cascades worth 6 points for the rest of the round. This round offered one of the strangest results out of the entire experiment. I expected red choosers to swap to blue after the first round, which was backed up by all 5 red choosers swapping. But I definitely didn't expect 5 of the 7 blue choosers to swap to red after the first move. While it might have been easy to explain the red chooser behavior, the blue choosers muddy the water, suggesting that the swap in the second move may in fact be arbitrary. Round 3 was set up to give participants a chance to bond with their computerized friend. Since the red agent always had a better move, and will complain if the user chooses blue, the prediction was that users would either pick red and stick with red, or pick blue and switch to red. Again, to my surprise, I observed that out of 5 blue choosers, only 1 decided to swap after the first red complaint. 2 swapped after the second complaint, and the remaining pair stuck with blue the entire round. The red choosers behaved much closer to my predictions, however. 4 of the 7 red choosers stayed with their agent the whole game, with the exception of 3 who swapped to blue during the final move. This hints that although they were getting consistent points from red, the arrangement of pieces may have looked better for blue's final move. After all, together with the blue choosers, 5 out of 12 participants chose blue in that final round. Scenario 4 was set up to be a jackpot scenario, offering 1 good move from 1 agent, but never following it up. The prediction was that if trust was present from getting a jackpot by choosing blue's 7-point cascade in move 2, then participants would choose them in the subsequent rounds despite 4-point moves offered by red. The 8 people who chose red on move 2, given only 1 complaint, didn't reliably swap to blue after round 2. And the 4 people who chose blue on move 2 all chose to stay with blue for the entire round, indicating that despite a better looking move, people might actually choose to remain with an agent that's produced good results in the past. I employed deception in the final round, opening with both agents delivering relatively massive 9-point cascades, followed by 3-point single moves for the rest of the game. Instead of the normal complaint rules, complaining only when the non-chosen agent has a better move, I set the agents to complain at every round. In this small experiment, I observed half of the participants remained with their initial agent for the entire round, despite the complaints on screen. Additionally, only 42% of notifications across all participants were followed, which hints that participants may have chosen to swap based on the relative arrangement of pieces. In the future, more symmetrical boards, or even a different game format, could help keep the agent's moves more equal. But one inherent drawback of the Match 3 format is the permutation of the board after each move. which often results in asymmetrical board states despite efforts to retain symmetry. The main limitations of my findings with this study is a lower than anticipated number of study subjects. Any future work concerning the trust relationship studied here would benefit from a much larger sample size. And for consistency across all experiment sessions, each game scenario was entirely pre-decided in the design phase. As such, each consisted of a binary tree of game states which were hand-arranged. Future iterations of this experiment design would benefit from a deeper binary tree containing more moves. With longer games, there's undoubtedly more time for trust relationships to develop, but those games would require significantly more scenarios, and thus more time. Thank you for watching my senior thesis video for computer science here at Union College. If you have any questions regarding my research, feel free to contact me at my personal email, as I'll be leaving Union soon with a diploma. I'd like to thank the Union College Computer Science Department for teaching me to be the programmer that I am today. Special thanks goes out to my advisor on this project, Professor Chris Fernandes.